and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with the Disability Policy for All. I'm really excited to be here to be talking to Allison Barkoff, who is the Director of Advocacy at the Basilton Center for Mental Health. Today we're going to be talking about the Olmstead decision, which came from Georgia. And so welcome. Thank you, Allison.
Thanks, Liz. I'm so excited to be here with one of my favorite disability advocates.
Thanks. The first question I wanted to ask is, can you help the audience understand a little bit about the Olmstead decision?
Sure. So the Olmstead decision has to do with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the Americans with Disabilities Act says in it that people have a right, there's an integration mandate. So states have to provide services to people in the most integrated setting appropriate. And the case had to do with two women who were incredible fighters in Georgia. They were in a state institution and they didn't want to be there. And their doctor said, you don't need to be here, you could live in the community. But the state said, sorry, the only place we're going to offer you services is in an institution. So the question before the Supreme Court was, is it discrimination against people with disabilities when you unnecessarily keep them in institutions? And thankfully, the Supreme Court said yes. And what was really important that the Supreme Court said in why it was discrimination is they talked about how people with disabilities are harmed by being separated from people. They said that it is based on false assumptions, false information, when you separate people with disabilities that they can't be part of community life and they're not worthy of it, and that's not true. And they also said when people are segregated, it deprives them of doing the things that are most important to all people, like being part of a family, or going to school, or making friends. So the Supreme Court said that states have to provide community services to people, and that it's discrimination not to under the ADA.
Thank you. I understand that you have a personal connection to the Olmstead with your brother living in Georgia. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Olmstead is really personal for me because of my Georgia connections. I have an incredible brother with an intellectual disability who's 38 years old, and so he was born into a system before the ADA, before Olmstead, and our family was told when he was born the only place for Evan is in a state institution, just like the two people who were the brave fighters in Olmstead. And luckily, over time, my parents really fought, a lot of parents really fought in the 70s and 80s and before the ADA to change the opportunities. And now, fast forward, after the ADA, after Olmstead, and my brother lives the kind of life that Olmstead is really about. He lives in his own apartment with a roommate that he chose. He has a great job in the community, and he's paid real work for real wages. He has a girlfriend. He has a really active social life, way more active than mine, and he really is living the kind of life that Olmstead is about. So I really love that Evan and his life really shows how Olmstead can change things.
Thank you. That's wonderful. With the new HCBS rule and the Olmstead decision, will it make states listen to me, Evan, and our friends more?
Yeah, there's a really, really important role for advocates, including self-advocates, around Olmstead and the new HCBS rules. So with Olmstead, a lot of states are focusing on proactively planning thinking about how do we come into compliance with the ADA and Olmstead instead of waiting to get sued. And so there's some great opportunities for people to work with their state and say, look at how many people are still in institutions, whether it's a state-operated facility, or nursing homes, or sheltered workshops, and working with the state to say, how do we really change our system to create opportunities for people to live independently, to have more control over their life, to have real jobs. So big role for advocates when states are doing planning. Sometimes states don't make decisions to do this kind of work, and there are a lot of lawsuits that happen, and self-advocates are so important in that. The key to the success of bringing these lawsuits is often having strong self-advocates to tell their story, to talk about what's important to them. And the new HCBS settings rules, as you know, Liz, and you've done some interviews about, the public has to be engaged, and the rule itself says people need to give their comments. So again, it's a great opportunity for people like you and Evan, your friends, and other advocates to say, what are the things that are working in our system, and what are the things that we think really need to change as a part of this rule, and the state needs to put that in their plans.
Thanks. How can my friends Evan and others help to enforce the ADA and to make states uphold the Olmstead decision? Because you and I know that they aren't always upholding the decision.
That's right. Well, I think the first thing is it's so great to have someone like you explaining to everybody what their rights are and what these laws mean. Because if people don't know their rights, then they can't be out there enforcing them. So education is really, really important. And then I think your friends really need to be active in all the ways we talked about. Being involved. I know you're involved, and a lot of states have DD councils. They have other ways for people receiving services to be involved. I know I'm really, really proud of my brother. He's appointed to the Georgia DD Council, and he goes to a lot of meetings to talk to the state about ways their system needs to change. So being really active in advocacy with the state and with the legislature, I think the education you're doing around the home and community-based settings rules is really, really important. People need to be active. There's an opportunity for the public to comment, and you need to make sure your friends know their voice is really important. So I think those are some really great ways.
Is there anything else that I missed or that you would like to talk about?
Liz, I think this is just such an exciting time for change. We just celebrated 25 years of the ADA, and I think it gave us a chance to look back on how far we've come, but also to look at how far we have to come. And I know in a lot of your interviews, people have talked about we're not in a world of when my brother was born, many, many people being in institutions, but there's still people who are living in the community who don't have control over their lives the way we would all want. We have too many people who aren't working real jobs, and I think that's something we need to focus on. And I'm really excited that we really have these great tools, the Olmstead decision and the enforcement that's been happening by the federal government and by public interest organizations, and these new rules that give us tools to push further and to make even more progress. So keep educating people, keep telling people to please get involved, and thank you so much. This is really an exciting time in the disability community, and thanks for being such a leader.
Thank you. If you have any questions about this or any other policy issue, please go to the AUCG webpage and look for this week's In Brief. And if you have any questions about this edition of Tuesdays with Liz, please leave them in the space below. Thank you, Allison.
Thanks,
very
Liz.
much. Bye.